So, Simo, have you been keeping up to date with the whole Olympics thing?
I'm not much for sports, I gotta be honest with you, but I have heard quite a bit of stuff over here in China.
Yeah. Now, I was kind of surprised to find out about 2 weeks ago that like Chinese people, the general population en masse, were buying VPNs and finding ways over the Great Firewall. And I was like, what's going on here? And I'm going to tell you why they were doing it, and it's kind of interesting, but let's hit the road and we'll
Sure.
continue with our conversation. So the reason why everybody was jumping on the internet, you know, because as we all know, the internet here in China is more like an intranet,
Right.
is because they were going on there to attack an Australian swimmer, you know, Mac Horton,
Yep.
right? They were going to attack him because they were trying to defend their star swimmer. What's his name? Sun Yang. Sun Yang. And now, okay, he's been a bit of a sensation in China. Maybe you can tell the audience why he's such a sensation.
Well, I mean, like, I think any country tends to idolize talented people, but not like China. Like, China really idolizes things, and he became kind of a sex symbol of Chinese men. He's tall, he's handsome, and all of the girls were going wild. And, you know, there was a huge nationalist pride over him because he is a fast Chinese man in a world dominated by, you know, Western athletes.
Yeah, and basically what happened is after the match he lost only by a couple of like milliseconds or whatever. Hey, this is kind of interesting. This is like a little, what would you call it?
It's a grave.
Mausoleum? A grave? Yeah?
Mausoleum,
yeah. Anyway, he lost by a couple of milliseconds to this Mac Horton guy.
Right.
And then Mac Horton was kind of unsportsmanly, but called him out for being a drug cheat.
Right.
And said, the good guys have won, you know, against drug cheats kind of thing. And this enraged like the whole Chinese population. And this is our topic today, by the way, it's the Chinese glass heart. And this is a very good example of the glass heart. So it enraged them so much that the average citizen who would normally not care about going, you know, over the firewall, because it's actually illegal to do that here for,
right.
as a Chinese citizen, not as a foreigner.
Right.
It's illegal to bypass the firewall. But, you know, they're not driven to do that to find out world news or anything else. But when it comes to like defending the pride of their athlete, man, did they go in mass. So
I think the irony is that they actually bought a VPN not to look at like unblocked news, but to actually defend the nationalism.
Yeah.
It's very ironic.
So anyway, maybe you can flesh this out a little bit.
Sure.
Why was it that the Australian guy called him a drug cheat?
Well, the thing is, there is some foundation behind his slander. What happened was Sun Yang actually had been caught previously for using performance-enhancing drugs, right?
Yeah, tell me the name.
Trimetazine. Now, trimetazine is a stimulant that is well known for being used as a performance-enhancing drug, not like the heart medicine that he claimed it to be, right?
Yeah. The thing is, if you are taking heart medicine, you're supposed to notify the sort of board or whatever.
That's correct. And actually he didn't pull it past the board. The China Anti-Doping Agency actually called him out, gave him a ban, and actually fined him 5,000 RMB. And a lot of people were kind of like, a lot of the swimmers on his team were actually quite disappointed with him.
Sure.
But that news was covered up until fairly recently, and that's why most Chinese citizens didn't understand why he was called a drug cheat. They just thought Mac Horton was being a jerk, right?
Well, I mean, on top of that, like even my wife was saying to me, but he only took some heart medicine and it's unfair. Like, you know,
right.
they've got that narrative that it definitely wasn't cheating.
Right.
That, you know, there was just an error and he shouldn't have been, you know, banned or anything in the first place. So they
right.
believe him to be totally innocent, right?
Right.
Although the facts point otherwise.
Right. So what does this have to do with the glass heart or being butthurt as a Chinese citizen?
Okay, well, you see, recently, are we going left here?
I guess.
Okay. Recently, in my legal troubles in China video, I spoke about how I was basically attacked by a nationalist mob, and it's totally related to this. It comes down to being part of a collective or being an individual.
Okay.
Because in the West, we like to think that we're individuals. Well, we do believe we're all individual. And the responsibilities of my mistakes are my responsibilities. So if I kill somebody, I'm going to go to jail, right? Or if I behave badly in public, people will point at me and say, this man is behaving badly, right? But here in China, it's kind of a collective, and they believe that everybody's part of the same thing. So if you point at a Chinese man who's behaving badly and you say, this guy's behaving badly, suddenly the whole of China says, how dare you say Chinese people behave badly? Instead of saying like, yes, he's behaving badly.
Yeah, it's that pack mentality.
Absolutely, like a big mob mentality. Maybe you can expand on it. Do you have any personal stories?
Sure, actually, I'll just tell my story. So basically what happened was, it was Valentine's Day, and we were in a taxi, and I told the taxi, because we didn't have any money, we only had a card on us, I told the taxi very explicitly that we have to stop at my house and grab my wife's purse, and he said no problem. But when we got there, he decided to change his mind. He was like, nah, get out of the car and pay now. So we were like, well, I told you I got to go get the money. So I stayed in the car, my wife got out to go get the money. But he was having none of it. He jumps out of the car and he goes, Gay Jen, give me money, or I'll beat you to death. And he grabs my wife, because he thinks like we're scamming him or something.
Yeah.
Grabs my wife by the shoulder. So he's like, I'm gonna beat you to death. So I jump out of the car and I'm like, are you kidding me? So she whips out our point and shoot camera and she goes, say that again, right in front of our house.
Yeah.
And she starts filming him.
Yeah.
And he goes, if you don't give me money, I'll beat you to death, right?
Do you still have that footage, by the way?
I can dig around. I can dig around.
All right.
So he goes up to my wife and slaps the camera out of her hand and then slaps her in the face. No joke.
Boy.
A man, right?
Disgusting.
So obviously the fire of 1,000 suns burnt up inside my belly, and I punched him right in the face. I actually ended up breaking the bone right under his eye.
Yeah.
And of course he had to go to the hospital. But what happened was, amidst this argument, I heard the shop owners next door and a bunch of people that had crowded up to see this little scuffle.
Yeah.
I heard them saying like, yeah, get him, like punch the douchebag. You're not supposed to hit women, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But very, very quickly, when the crowd became about 50 or 60 people, I heard one person and they screamed, foreigners can't hit Chinese people. And everything switched on a goddamn dime. Like right that second, everyone started like basically crowding in on me. Right or left?
Let's go this way.
And just started crowding in on me.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing people like, you effing foreigner, you scumbag, blah, blah. How dare you hit our Chinese people? Our Chinese people don't deserve to be hit by foreigners, right?
Right.
Ended up going to the police station and I was blamed for the crime.
Okay.
Because I hit a Chinese person, even though he hit my wife. So, I mean, I still get angry when I talk about this story, but I just want you guys to understand that that's the glass heart. Even the police, after a woman had been hit on camera by a man and her husband protecting her, I was at fault.
Absolutely right. This is the biggest piece of advice I give to all my subscribers is, if you get into any kind of fight here, don't ever hit anyone.
Yeah.
Because you will always be at fault.
Right.
Even if they've, like, I don't know,
hurt you.
Yeah, stabbed you or something. I mean,
Right.
obviously that's a bit extreme. But always defend yourself, but never actually go out and hit someone, because you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
So
I actually had to pay 6,000 RMB.
6,000 RMB.
Yeah.
Well, you got off lightly.
Yeah, he wanted 30.
Yeah, of course he did. Right, Seamilk, well, I think a lot of our subscribers are probably thinking we're being overly negative about China here and Chinese people, but I'd like to reassure everybody out there that it's not the way we feel. In general, I'd say Chinese people are incredibly friendly and hospitable, which is very, very much in evidence if you watch our Conquering Southern China TV series. Maybe you can tell us why.
If you guys haven't checked it out yet, go watch Conquering Southern China on Vimeo On Demand. It's awesome. 5,000 kilometers on these puppies. And really what Winston's talking about is our interactions that we had with the local people on that trip. A lot of the areas that we went through were really, really poor, but these people were willing to offer us food and invite us into their houses. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're talking about today, this whole glass heart thing, is really just when things kick off, you know, when the local people get triggered. So in general, I'd say Chinese people are actually very hospitable and very friendly.
Absolutely.
But anyway, let's just get back into it. I may as well tell my story
Yeah,
for
go for
those who don't come here. I'll give you the abridged version. I went out after drinking with a friend to have some massages, okay?
Yeah.
And nothing dodgy for me, you know, I'm not that kind of bloke.
Right.
I went for a foot massage. My friend went for he wanted to get a dodgy massage, but the place wasn't offering that kind of service.
Okay.
Because there was a political guy in town, and
Okay.
they don't do that when there's a sort of a politician here.
Right.
Let's try go up here.
Cool.
Don't know if it's going to lead anywhere. And so he told me, sorry, they're not going to do what I want, I'm leaving. So he didn't even get his massage. He went up into the room and tried to negotiate, and they said no, so he left. And so I just stayed and had my foot massage, you know, which I enjoyed. And then when I tried to leave, they tried to force me to pay for his dodgy massage, which he hadn't gotten.
Ooh.
And I was like, no, I'm not going to pay for that. Like, not a
Right.
chance, right? First of all, like, it's just immoral to pay for a dodgy massage, but definitely not if I didn't even get it myself. I'm not paying
Sure.
for it, you know?
Of course.
An interesting little spot. And so when I tried to leave, I paid for my foot massage, by the way, so I'd already paid that. But when I tried to leave, they surrounded me, all the staff from the little massage parlor, and they basically started pushing me around and threatening me and all this. So I called the main manager guy who was in my face and pushing me around. I called him a Laji Ren.
Garbage person.
And the way I phrased it, for all those people who've been talking rubbish in the comments on my other video, I said, Ni shigalajiren, which means you are a rubbish person, a piece of trash, basically.
Right.
So like you as in you person, right?
Right.
Not as in you people.
Right.
So he turned around to the crowd, because there was quite a crowd by now, and he said to the crowd in Chinese, this foreigner just called all Chinese people trash.
Right.
And that's just like hell broke loose. It was just insane. I literally got punched from every possible angle. People were punching me in the back of the head and the side of the head, like in the ribs. People were kicking me, you know, as they kind of went past. It was just ridiculous. Like it was like a mob attack, like a lynching.
Right.
And I actually got pretty badly injured. I was all swollen up and black eyes and all that kind of crap, you know.
Wow.
But during all this, I kept getting up because, you know, I know what it's like to be in a fight. I've been beaten up before,
Right.
plenty of times in South Africa. So, you know, I just kept getting up, and then I saw a little police golf cart thing, which I called over. I just shouted as loudly as I could, you know, basically help, police,
Right.
help, you know, which in Chinese you say "jing cha," it means
Right.
police. And I was just like, "jiu ming ah," you know, "jiu ming ah," that kind of thing. So the police finally came over. Everybody just like dispersed. They all disappeared. But the cops rounded up everybody, like all the staff from the establishment and me, took us down to the police station, brought in an interpreter. It took like an hour and a half or something. Took photos and fingerprints of everyone, including myself. And then finally they negotiated and they said, yeah, he shouldn't pay for his friend's massage that his friend didn't get. So I didn't have to pay any extra money. But here's the rub. Nothing happened to them.
Right.
Right? All they did was like, yeah, blah, blah, okay, fine, then he doesn't need to pay us. And then they just got all left off. And I was beaten up pretty badly.
Right.
And there's nothing I could do about it, right?
Right.
And besides, the people that were beating me up were just like random folk, you know?
Right.
Should we go, where should we go?
No, this is no,
Just go straight down
yeah.
here. So yeah, basically they all got off scot-free, and there I was all beaten up and nothing. So yes, once again, foreigner versus Chinese. It just shows you this mob mentality. It basically, the glass heart, back to the point, because we're getting off track here. The point is, their national pride is very easily wounded.
Yeah.
And basically built into every single Chinese person is this core nationalism.
Yeah.
And it's beaten into them from a young age, from when they're in school, kindergarten, by the TV, by their parents, their grandparents, you know. And they've got this idea that it's like, you know, I can say something bad about my parents, but you can't say anything bad about my parents.
Correct.
You know, it's that kind of idea.
Yeah.
So if a foreigner ever says anything bad or like insults China in any way, forget about it. You are in so much trouble, irrationally so.
Right.
And that's what happened to old Mac Horton, you know?
Exactly. To tie it all together, to be honest, that's pretty much a perfect example of individualism. Because I'm sure there's people out there that didn't like what Mac Horton said. They probably thought it was kind of douchey.
Yeah.
But they don't judge Australia for that, right?
Sure.
Individualism versus collectivism, and that's what it boils down to here in China, and that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you saw the kind of insults that were coming
Yeah.
from the Chinese people. They were like insulting the whole of Australia, like, oh, we're gonna destroy you, you know, in the South China Seas.
They're willing to break the law to
Yeah.
buy a VPN to defend the country that blocks their internet.
And threaten like international war.
Yeah.
You know, like
They were
we are
doing
going
that.
to just like, because of they're bringing in politics and the South China Sea and everything. They're going to come in there and destroy
Yeah.
this country because a guy made a comment,
Right.
and it was justified. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
Yeah, it was in poor taste, but it's not like it was wrong. And then like a couple of days later, another one of the Chinese swimmers tested positive for drugs.
Yeah, it's kind of damning. I mean, this happens all the time. People have to understand that China makes Olympians from these like basic like Olympian mills. They
Yeah.
just churn out athletes, and there's a lot of doping involved for sure.
Yeah,
That's about it.
every country has this kind of thing, so you know you can't judge an entire country based on that. But at the same time, you can judge their reactions as
Yeah.
being immature.
Right.
Absolutely, and very knee-jerk.
Right.
And it's so easy to get into trouble. So I guess the main message of this video is, if you're in China as a foreigner, never invoke that glass heart, that knee-jerk, irrational nationalism crap, because your best friend, the old guy at the store who you meet every day and buy your cigarettes and whatever from, that guy will bloody hit you over the head with a brick if it ever comes down to that. Like your best Chinese friend who you think is like your soulmate brother or something, he'll be there whacking you with a bamboo stick on your head if any of this ever comes down to like that situation. So
Yeah.
so I guess that's it, man.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say to our subscribers?
Well, I hope that whether you are from a collectivist or individualist society, that you use your own judgment to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, and you know, I'd like to say that we're overly generalizing here, but it's actually the truth. There is not a single Chinese person I've ever met in my life who doesn't have this nationalism ingrained in them. And I want to say, because if we end on a negative note, it's not a good thing. I would like to say to all the Chinese subscribers out there, hang on, get my bloody... Okay, I'd like to say to all the Chinese guys who are watching this video, I don't blame you, I understand it, and it's just part of the situation. It's part of the environment here. And it's just something that we're pointing out, because it's something we've experienced and something that we see pretty much on a weekly basis, I'd say, you know? And I don't judge you for this, just like, you know, I hope you don't judge me for speaking my mind. So, guys, no matter if you're Chinese, no matter what, I want you guys all to know that I love you all, and that I hope you all stay awesome.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind were